finishes off in style. A magnificent strike into the crowd. India lift the World Cup after 28 years.
Last time around, we spoke on two important news in the world of cricket. It was the postponement of the 2020 T20 Men's World Cup in Australia, as well as the announcement of the 2020 IPL in the UAE. There were two other bits of news as well regarding the postponement of the 2021 Women's ODI World Cup in New Zealand, and of course, the announcement of the 2020 Women's IPL, which will run parallel to the Men's IPL in the UAE. It is always our endeavor at HotSpot to talk about topics of relevance, and women's cricket is right up there when it comes to relevance, whether it's on the world arena or in fact the Indian cricket arena. And thus we bring to you a very, very special episode of HotSpot with a very, very special guest who can reflect on the developments regarding women's cricket of late. Hello and welcome to this latest episode of HotSpot. As always, I'm your host, sports journalist and broadcaster Chetan Narula, and with me, my co-host and former Indian cricketer Deep Dasgupta. Deep, welcome again to the show. Your first thought on today's topic, the relevance of women's cricket, and of course, today's guest.
Okay, starting off with the relevance of women's cricket, I think the growth of the sport depends on women's cricket. That's how important women's cricket is. If you want to spread the sport, it has to be women's cricket. The vehicle has to be women's cricket. And the guest, as you mentioned, and you used the right word for her, special. She's extremely special. She's one of the best cricketers across genders in the world. And she's a rock star both on and off the field. And I'm so glad to be here and speaking to her on this platform.
Absolutely. Rockstar is the word that defines her in every sense of the word. She is one of India's most prominent women cricketers, 16 ODIs and 44 T20s. And she's only 19 years old, just about to turn 20 in September. So we send her birthday wishes in advance. She hails from Mumbai, the spiritual home of cricket in India. And she can be labeled as a prodigy in her own right. And apart from that, she's ready to, she's always happy and ready to bust out hip hop moves, get out the guitar. She's dabbled in hockey as well. And she's always a chirpy and fun character to be around. We welcome for the first time on HotSpot, Jemimah Rodrigues. Welcome, Jemimah. How are you doing? How's the lockdown been for you? Are you back practicing? Just tell us how you're doing, and welcome.
Firstly, thank you so much, both of you all, for such a lovely introduction. It was really sweet of you all to say all these things. And yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah, things are getting better over here. And yeah, I have been practicing from, past few weeks with my dad and me. So, back to some cricket action. So yeah, all good.
Right, so we will dive straight away into the episode, and of course we're going to talk about not only just women's cricket as a whole, but we'll also talk about Jemimah's journey so far. It's been a nascent career, but it's been a career which has made a lot of impact. I think first we need to talk about your love for the game. You come from a family which has always been involved with sports. Your father has had an impact on your career. And of course, your brothers, I read up about you, and you grew up playing with your brothers. You were interested in hockey and cricket both. Just tell us and tell our viewers and listeners how cricket came to be the most prominent thing in your life.
So as said in the introduction, I am someone who cannot sit quietly. Even at home, I'm always up to some mischief or the other. So, my brothers used to play cricket. So looking at them, I picked up a bat and I started playing cricket. So that's how cricket got to me. And yeah, it's been quite a journey, because when I started playing cricket, I didn't even know that women's cricket existed. I just played for fun because I really loved the game. And at the age of 4, I started going for practice with my brothers. So I have always played with the boys. So I really didn't know that, there's something called as women's cricket, because they should not broadcast it even on TV, and we used to hardly hear anything. So then it so happened that I was at Shivaji Park to watch my brother's school match, and their coach told that today there are going to be women's selections. So then my dad was like, oh, women's selections bhi hota hai. Then he was like, yes. So then we went back to Andhra, and I changed, dressed up. So we came back on the ground. I'm this tiny little girl, 8-year-old, holding my dad's hand, dad holding my kit bag in the other hand, and I came. And the moment I walked in over there, like they were all college girls, so everyone like just had a small laugh. Like they were like, huh, like how dear is she in that sense. So that's how it started, and that was the zonal selection for Mumbai. So I was a medium pacer before I became a batter. So I started off my career as a bowler. So I still remember like the first ball I bowled in the nets. The person left the ball. The second ball I bowled, the person got bowled. So then everybody like, okay, this girl, has something in her.
Sorry, so this was when you were an 8-year-old playing with the college girls?
Yes, this was it.
Oh, wow.
So the selection had no age limit, like anybody could play.
Okay.
So it was like
Okay.
that. So like I was the youngest, and like the oldest would be around 24, 25 or something like that.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so that's how.
Wow, Deep, it reminds us of another prodigy from Mumbai. I mean, Sachin Tendulkar also went, when he was just a prodigious child, and then went and impressed in the nets. And how did you hear about Jemimah first, the big hitting youngster from Mumbai? Like she said, women's cricket was not there, but then, she's got that big hitting reputation from the start, got that double 100 against Rashtra in 2018. It's been quick rise for her.
I think, the good part about growing up in Mumbai, and especially if you're a cricketer, is that, you get to hear about talent a little early, right? So heard about Jemimah when I think 3-4 years ago, when she was just starting off, the kid coming through, like you hear about boys as well. I mean, when there's a talented youngster coming through, you hear about them. And I think that's when I heard, and to be very, very honest, I mean, it is, you need that spark, right? For everything to start, you need a spark. A lot of that spark, as far as Indian women's cricket is concerned, has got to do with Jemimah coming into the picture, Harmanpreet's 100 against Australia. I think all those things, in a matter of a year or so, kind of sparked that that thing about women's cricket. And I think a lot of credit goes to her for creating this buzz around women's cricket. Obviously, as I mentioned, someone like Harman, obviously you've had legends like Mithali and Chulon and all these people. But, I mean, that spark, that catalyst which women's cricket needed in India, I think a lot of credit should go to this generation.
Right, Jemimah, you've dabbled in hockey as well when you were young. Cricket, hockey simultaneously happening. Was it just the Nets incident that pushed you finally towards cricket, or was there another incident? And who are the people you look up to for, as your cricketing idols?
Yeah, so first coming to hockey started when we had shifted from Bhandup to Bandra. We used to stay in Bhandup, which was like very far from, where I used to practice at Bandra. So my mom and dad took a decision, okay, we'll shift from Bhandup to Bandra. So that's easier for our kids. Like at that time, even my brothers used to play cricket. So then after that, what happened, the pastor of our church, his daughter used to play hockey. So he gave me a hockey stick and he's like, you start playing hockey too. So I used to go for practice with her. So it so happened that within like 1 or 2 years, I started doing well in both. And I played hockey for Maharashtra under 17 before I played cricket for Mumbai under 19. So my parents actually thought that, okay, Jemmy is going to make a career in hockey. And they were fine with anything. But it so happened then at the same time I started doing well in both, got selected at both places. So then it was all clashing. So then my mom and dad told me it's completely up to you. It's your decision what you want to choose. So at that time I had reached a higher stage in cricket than hockey. So then I chose cricket. But it was a very tough decision. I remember I even cried a bit because I loved both the sports and I didn't want to leave anything. So yeah, that's how it was. And my cricketing idols growing up was definitely Sachin sir and Rohit Sharma. I really love Rohit Sharma's batting.
How much was the pressure growing up as a prodigy? Was there always this thing that Jemimah, I mean, she's a prodigy, she has to be successful? Did you feel any of that from let's say, not from your, I mean, what I hear, not from your family it seems, but from friends or relatives or people around you?
You mean like before play, like when I was playing for India or before that?
Yeah, no, no. Before playing for India, when
You're
you're where you're
growing up
growing up,
years.
13,
Yeah.
14, 15,
Okay.
because you have this. I mean, you're a prodigy, and then obviously there's a lot of expectations from people around you. So, was that expectation kind of a pressure on you? Did you feel it ever that way?
Yeah, as you said, there was always, this talk about me. Like from the time I started playing cricket, even in the first year, I'd scored 81, I think, in my second game for Mumbai, not out. So then there was a lot of talk always about me. I got selected for the India under 19 camp, and you know, uh, at times it had actually become a pressure on me because that time I was really young and I didn't really know how to handle this pressure. I mean, even now I'm still learning because even now there are a lot of things like a lot of expectations, a lot of media pressure, and everything. But I remember this one incident after my very first India under 19 camp. I had done very well in the previous season and also in the camp. So, the next season, I was like, yeah, this is going to be my season, and I'm like going to try and make it big. And then, even like the selectors and a few of my coaches and all that, even I myself had a lot of expectations. So, but that season really didn't go out the way I wanted it to go. So, I hardly had any scores in that season, maybe just 150 in like 40 games, which is like for a person like me, it was not a good score. And I remember at that time, I wanted to actually give up. I didn't want to play cricket because it was like a lot of pressure on me. Like selectors used to message and call like, why are you not performing? You've played India under 19 now. You should take responsibility. And coaches and even apart from them, it was like more of the pressure I was putting on myself that no, I have to perform. I have to score. And that just made me lose the joy of playing cricket. Like cricket at that moment became something like a pressure thing rather than something I really enjoyed doing. So it was at that time where my mom and dad's support actually, helped me get past that phase. And like I am a spiritual person, so I was also there was this one scripture in the Bible that actually helped me. It says in Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you," says the Lord, "plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." So it was like at that moment that just came alive to me, and I was like, okay, wait, if God hasn't given up on me, how can I give up? So along with that, it was like my mom and dad who kept telling me like, you are more than the runs you score to us. Like your runs doesn't define you as a batter for us. We know you are the best. So that kind of motivation and support I got, helped me pass that time, past that phase. And in the next season, like things just changed for me. Like I was the highest run scorer, had the highest number of centuries, highest number of 50s, highest strike rate. And Mumbai had won the championship in Ranchi under 19, and I was the captain for the first time. So like I was just thinking, a while back, if what would have happened if I would have given up then? I wouldn't have seen all this that God has in store. So yeah.
Funny, right? How your mentality can change your performance, right? Suddenly from being questioning yourself to being more positive in your mindset suddenly changes everything, isn't it? I mean, it's such an amazing aspect of our sport which actually we don't really talk much about, isn't it, Jemimah?
Yeah, in fact, just before you answer that, I want to add here, did that phase also helps you currently, in fact, when you see that yes, you've grown into a more prominent role on the international arena, but as you mentioned, the expectations are always there, the media is always there, the fans are now expecting more and more for women's cricket, and you're still only 19. So did that phase help you become the much more calmer person, the calmer batsman, the calmer athlete that you are today, probably?
Yes, I think definitely. And I strongly believe, it's these low phases in life that teach you a lot rather than, this successful seasons. Because in this time, I had to literally change a lot of myself, a lot of my batting. Like, I literally worked on my shot selections. I worked on developing new shots. Till then, I just used to play groundish or, just used to depend on my cover drive. But then I sat down with my dad. We discussed, okay, we need to work on this. We need to add more shots in your armory. So, that actually changed me completely as a player. And as you said, yes, that has prepared me, for a time as this. Because that has actually helped me realize like how to be, mentally stronger and how to handle such situations. As I said, it was the experience that helped me realize that, I shouldn't be putting so much pressure on myself, and not even allowing people will speak, people will talk. But at the end, I get myself in that zone where, I'm just enjoying doing what I'm doing. And I should enjoy even their expectations and not take it as pressure, because the more I enjoy it, the better I can do.
It is interesting because you see this sort of experience coming in at a very early age, and it obviously sets them apart from, it brings out the cream of the crop and helps them grow as individuals, not just on the field, but also off the field. We have to talk about your experiences as an India player, because obviously you've played in 2 ICC tournaments. Both times the team has gone deep, gone far, and that's become a trend with the Indian women's team, that they're going deeper and deeper into the ICC tournaments. Just maybe that final step is remaining. Tell us how this Indian women's team is gelling. A lot of young women, a lot of young guys looking up to this Indian women's team.
I think firstly, after the 2017 World Cup, things in India drastically changed in regards to women's cricket. Like after that, I remember this time, when they were coming back from England. So Mumbai Cricket Association had made it compulsory for all the Mumbai players to go and welcome them at the airport, because nobody expected like anybody to welcome them. So they were like, we can do that. But it so happened that we were shocked when we reached over there. Like we reached, I think, 1 hour or 2 hours before they could reach. The whole place was packed with media. And this really never happened in women's cricket. I mean, we all were so shocked and surprised, wow, there's so much media. So I remember even when we could see through the glass, like the girls were coming out, the team was coming out, they came out, they all saw, and they went back inside because there was so much crowd outside. Like nobody was expecting that. So, but I mean, that actually changed the way the girls played in the 2017 World Cup. Actually changed a lot of things for women's cricket in India. So yeah, after that, I had made my debut in South Africa, and the journey has been really great. Being with, I got the the privilege of sharing the dressing room with Mitudi, with Juludi, with Harry D and all. And that was such a blessing for me to learn, how they have played, how they have progressed, and how they carry on that professionalism on the ground. So, and talking about the team has been doing really well over the years. If you see, even in this World Cup, I mean, throughout the World Cup, we had a really good tournament, except the finals. But if you go to see, like, the average age of our team was, I think, 2022. And this is a very young side. So I would say, definitely our team has a lot of potential. Yes, we need to, work on certain areas, and I believe everybody is doing that. But yes, I mean, I think our team has a really bright future.
Deep, you've been part of BCCI's production team, which has covered matches at Surat. And we have seen on television when the women's team is playing there, the full crowds over there. You want to add something there? How women's cricket, and especially when people on television see that there's so much crowd and the cricketers are just, lapping it up. And as she said, it really inspires them as well.
Women's cricket has changed drastically, if I may say so. I did my first broadcasting of women's cricket back in 2014-15. It was a home series against New Zealand. And from there to where it is now, it's like a 180 degrees shift. And I think a lot of credit to obviously the people before, as she mentioned about Mithali, about Chulan. But again, that had plateaued a bit. So the 2017 World Cup, Harman's 100, then her. And now what has happened is women's cricket has also changed in terms of, I think one of the biggest changes in women's cricket is power. It is not about just skill anymore. Way back in 2014-15, we would just look at something like, first 10 overs, 25, 26 runs, and that's a decent start without losing a wicket. And suddenly now you have, and there is a lot of similarities between men's cricket and women's cricket now. I mean, and I think that is what, again, helps people to relate more now. You know what I'm saying? And I would like to ask this to Jemimah. I mean, Jemimah, obviously 2013-14, you weren't part of the Indian setup, but you were part of the women's cricket setup in let's say, Mumbai or wherever. Do you see the change in the coaching patterns making a difference? Because I think till 2013-14, without disrespecting anyone, but the system was very aloof from mainstream cricket. The thought process was different, and then suddenly you had Romesh coming in as a coach, then now WB, who's a wonderful, wonderful coach. So the mindset changing and being more aggressive and expressive now, do you think that has got anything to do with where women's cricket, especially Indian women's cricket, is right now?
Yeah, definitely. I think a coach also plays a very important and major role in how you're shaping a team. And I think for now in women's cricket, whoever came, whether it was Ramesh sir or whether it's WE sir, everyone was mainly focused on the mental aspect rather than the skill aspect. And as you said, I think previously it was more about skill than the mental aspect. But I think people's mind also started changing a lot. They started being more open and started adapting to the game because the game is changing. You cannot stick to the same thing what we stuck to in 2014, as you said. We need to get good strike rates. We need to be aggressive and attacking, and sometimes just go out there from the first ball and be aggressive. So yes, I remember even Ramesh. So when he came, he actually changed the mindset a lot of our team. He actually made it a point every single time he told I want all to dominate, be it whoever. He always told us you have to dominate, and I think that was the mindset he always had when he played, and that had so much change. Honestly, our skill levels were the same, but it was our mindset which changed that took our skill level to the next level. So I think that was what Ramesh sir did. He told us even if you all get all out in like 100 runs, it's fine, but I want you all to dominate from the first ball. I mean, he was literally like that. So everyone's mind started changing. We started dominating, and we all saw the difference. I mean, even Harry D's 100, and Harry D and I had a partnership of I think more than 100 runs. I am not sure how much it was in our first game of the World Cup. So that was the kind of change that we saw, and even WB sir, he always stresses more upon the mental aspect of the game rather than the skill. Yes, he'll tell us, okay, it's this and that, but he always tells us, it's more here than the skill. So, it's changing, and it's so nice to see that all of us are adapting it and not being, very rigid about, no, this is how I've played, I'll always play like this. Now, I think the key is, even players should accept it and be open to that change. And this is what is happening. And yeah, we are seeing the results.
It's very interesting that she talks about the dominant streak, even get out within 100 runs, but dominate the opposition. I think we mostly, if you have to just look at the recent past, we related most to the Australia game, where in the first game of the tournament, Australia was just blown away. Everybody was surprised, not perhaps at the result, but the way Australia were beaten, how our women cricketers just came out on top and steamrolled, the Australian team, and then had that unbeaten run towards the final. Jemimah, can you just tell us about, yes, it was a big heartbreak for all of us, and probably even bigger for you. What's the missing aspect to take that final step? Is it just about the pressure, or is it just about clearing a mental hurdle that, okay, just get comfortable in this setting and go and dominate again?
How much I have seen our team, and in the last years, I think the one thing that work on is delivering at these pressure moments, at these pressure times. I think this is something we need to really work on, and I strongly believe that this can happen the more matches we play and better matches we play. Like I want to say is that start a women's IPL, like a full-fledged women's IPL, because if you see Australia and England, their game has developed so much after the WBPL and the Kia Super League. And I strongly believe, it's like when this women's IPL will start, it's our team members will get that experience, on a better basis. Because, playing quality cricket with, experienced players from abroad, from overseas, and under women's IPL can be one of the things we can look forward to help our team develop this and get better, because the more matches we play international players, that's going to help our team.
Very interesting point from Jemimah there, and of course she's touched upon the next part of our chat here today, the women's IPL. The BCCI were they took the first step when it came to T20 franchisee leagues, when it's regarding the men's cricket, and it has completely changed. She mentioned about how the women's cricket has changed in Australia and England thanks to their T20 leagues, but the BCCI can doesn't even need to look at women's game in Australia and England. They can just look in their own backyard and see how men's cricket in India has completely gone a paradigm shift thanks to the IPL. And that is what the need of the hour right now is in terms of women's cricket in India as well. Why not just have 3-4 teams, fully fledged teams, invite interest from existing franchisees, have a short tournament running parallel to the men's IPL, even if to guard against the financial insecurities or giving them a financial boost per se, and run it in a more professional manner than just have a few matches in the last week.
Listen, WIPL is a matter of time. If COVID wouldn't have happened now, for all you know, this year you would have seen a biggish tournament, as in a proper tournament, not just a smallish, whatever you want to call it. And I think, like I said, it's a matter of time. You've got to work out a few things, I believe. For example, to create at least 6 sides, you need the domestic circuit to be robust enough to get talent in. Yes, I've also thought about, you don't really have to follow the men's IPL format. You can always have more than 4 overseas to be part of the playing 11. All that is possible, but it is a matter of time. Not this year, maybe next year, and that will definitely change a lot of things, not just from cricketing perspective. Listen, you need younger talents. You need to encourage younger talents to come and join the sport. For that, you have to showcase the sport as a very viable option, as a career option. So I think WIPL, once it starts, it opens up those avenues. You encourage more youngsters to take up the sport. I think it's going to be a game changer. And as far as this year's WIPL, I think, this is, again, not ideal. I think Jemimah would be the right person to actually, because she was obviously part of the WBBL as well. But it is not an ideal situation.
WBBL.
Yeah.
I've not played.
Oh, right. So Kia Super League, sorry. So it's not an ideal situation, clashing to tournaments, but we've got to understand it is what it is. I mean, these are extraordinary times, and we need to figure out. But I'm really glad that WIPL this year, even though it's going to be a 10-day affair, but at least there's some cricket. There's some cricket for 40, 45 players to come out and start working on their cricket and get on the field. And then it's not just about the WIPL. I think there is a FTP after that as well. That is, I think, on the table right now. It's not confirmed, if I'm not wrong. But there are plans, and it's going to be a game changer. WIPL, and as to answer your question, it's a matter of time.
As he said, maybe not a six team tournament, but maybe a 4 or a 5 team tournament, because there are people. It's not that we don't have people in our domestic circuit. So we are just talking not a full-fledged a men's thing, but yeah, maybe a 4 team or a 5 team tournament would have actually, we could have had that. But yeah, as you said, there were plans this year that, we would have a proper women's IPL of maybe a 4 or 5 team. But because of the lockdown and everything, all the plans changed. So yeah, actually we are really excited also that, that finally we are getting some cricket, and even we'll have the women's IPL, maybe a small tournament, but it's going to mean so much to all of us. And each one of us, we are going to get to play some good quality cricket. And you never know, you can get a new talent coming up from the WIPL, and that's going to help, because even if you see the men's IPL, there are so many people like Jasprit Bumrah, Hardik Pandya, so many people, we found talent we never knew. And I don't think if it wasn't for the IPL would we ever get to know such talent, and now they are the mainstays of India. So I think it's the same that's going to happen in women's cricket.
Absolutely. It's just redefine the way we get talent into the international stage. And, it was always percolating down from tests to ODIs to T20s. Now there's no one defined route whether it's to men's cricket, and hopefully in the near future, we hope it's the same for women's cricket as well. And very interesting that you mentioned that there was going to be a proper women's IPL this year, but just because of the COVID lockdown, things had to change a bit. It's very important because BCCI has copped a bit of flack in this matter recently. And also to, a bit of a credit to the planning committee there, the operations committee, because the recent announcement from the BCCI was for the domestic cricket schedule in India. They scheduled the Ranji Trophy and the T20 domestic trophy. But at the same time, women's cricket has also found importance in that schedule, that yes, women's domestic cricket will also go ahead. So, we have to work this year under whatever restrictions we have. We hope, the world heals quickly and everything is back on track. And which brings us to, get some thoughts on this year's announcement for the women's IPL. There's going to be a clash with the women's BBL. Yes, you haven't featured there yet, but we hope you do feature there very, very soon. But there are other players, Indian players who feature there, Australian and English players who might want to be involved with the women's IPL. It was unavoidable to a large extent, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah, honestly speaking, it will make some difference in the game because obviously the people who have signed up with the WBBL would not be able to come for the IPL. So, we won't be having many of them. But to look at the positive side of it, many more people from our domestic circuit will get an opportunity to play at a big stage. And if you look at that, that's a big chance for, the younger people to rise up, or not the younger, the people who have not got so much experience to get this experience, definitely benefit a lot from this. Many more other people will get a chance. So looking at that, all of us are really excited and we are really looking forward to playing some good cricket in UAE.
Deep, what is the maximum the BCCI is hoping to achieve from this year's women's IPL? Of course, there will be some stars from Australia, England who will not be able to participate. As she mentioned, a lot of domestic Indian cricketers might just get that better opportunity. Is that the best case scenario for the women's IPL this year?
The best case scenario is getting cricketers back on the field. I think that's the best thing that anyone can do right now. Just try and get some sense of normality. I think nobody is looking more than that. I mean, listen, like I mentioned, these are extraordinary times. All you have to do is just try and get back to some normalcy. And I think that's the achievement right now, right? That's what you're trying to achieve, is start the process. It's going to be different. Like I mentioned, it's not a perfect scenario, but you have to start the process, and that's what it is. This year's WIPL, IPL, or whatever, the next 6 months, whatever cricket you're going to play, the idea is to try and get back slowly and steadily towards normalcy.
It leans into the next topic we have on our discussion here, which is to the international arena and the postponement of the 2021 Women's ODI World Cup. I'm just going to talk from my personal view. It's all, because covering and touring and just being on assignments, I've always found this urge of going and covering a Women's World Cup. I wanted to cover this year's Women's World Cup so badly, but again, was not able to make it. And yeah, I mean, the postponement, nobody wants a postponement, but now that it is in 2022, I'm so glad because I've already marked space in my calendar that I will be in New Zealand covering that Women's ODI World Cup. Jemimah, your thoughts on that? Like you mentioned that this year's schedule was always going to be more of ODIs for you. So from that perspective, your tour to England got cancelled. On account of preparation, this cancellation is, or not cancellation, postponement is acceptable.
Yeah, it's obviously sad because we've not played cricket for so long, and then finally when we came to know that we're going to have an England series, everyone was so excited. But then all of a sudden, because obviously to protect our players only, it got cancelled. So everyone was really sad. So nobody, as you said, nobody likes postponement, or nobody likes to wait, or nobody likes a delay. But if you go to see, I don't think ICC have taken this decision, just like that. I believe they have a lot of thought behind it, and whatever they have done it for the development of women's cricket itself. So yes, we are sad. We do feel that, but if you look at it, we have more time to practice as a team, which we lost this year due to the lockdown. But yeah, I mean, looking at the positives, we'll practice more together. We'll play more series against other countries and get better, and get that momentum back as a team, which we have lost in the last few months.
Were you, just an add-on question there, were you ever intimated about the possibility of going to England or not going to England? How early were you told that, okay, the England tour is not going to happen?
We were told that it was supposed to happen. Like, we had one Zoom call, I think, with the entire team and the coaches and everyone. So we were told that, okay, this is series is lined up, so we need to be mentally prepared and, kind of be in touch with the sport how much ever we can. But yeah, but then I think how I got to know, I think I read it in the read it in the news that, okay, like, this is cancelled. So, like, really nothing was told to us, like, directly, but I read it through a article or something, and that's how I got to know. So it was like, I think, I don't know actually when, but yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
but were you expecting it to happen? Looking at the current situation here in India and obviously in England, were you expecting this to happen?
Honestly, we were expecting it to happen. In fact, even they had delayed it a bit. It was supposed to happen earlier, but they had delayed it a bit. So we really thought like it's gonna happen, and obviously taking precautions and arranging the kind of chartered flight or whatever it was. We actually thought it was gonna happen, but yeah.
Okay.
Deep, do you think that was an opportunity missed for the BCCI? Of course, we don't have a women's selection committee. There's some certain issues around organizing cricket, any cricket, whether it's men's cricket or women's cricket. But again, England or the ECB have managed to create bio bubbles for West Indies, Pakistan, Ireland, even Australia. The South African women's team will probably also go and play England women's team. So, do you think that's an opportunity missed by the BCCI?
I don't know whether it's an opportunity missed or not because listen, the England West Indies and England Pakistan, they all started for a different reason. I mean, the different reason being obviously to get the English summer, which is such an important aspect for the English. The English side of the game, and also cricket itself. So they didn't want to miss out the English summer. So that, and obviously the commercials that are involved, the economics that are involved with it. And then obviously because it was such an hit, so now we're looking forward because now the template is created, how to create a bio bubble. If I'm not wrong, even for the IPL and WIPL, the bubble that is being created or the company that is being consulted is the same company which created the bubble for the England West Indies and England Pakistan series. So I think now that you know the template, on the hindsight, yes, I mean it's a 2020 vision, but at that point in time it could have been difficult, and also looking at how the conditions still in India and especially places like Mumbai or Delhi or something, it's quite bad. So I don't know, I mean, you can always argue that point, but I don't know whether it was extremely feasible also to make it happen, create that bio bubble both in England and also for Indian. For example, I mean, at this point in time, I cannot fly to Mumbai or I cannot fly to Delhi right now from Calcutta. There are no flights. So I mean, there are a lot of practical and logistical issues attached even now.
Right. Sometimes we find criticism comes to us very easily. We'll move on quickly to the last part of the debate today, or the discussion rather. And this is about a topic of conversation which is cropping up
All of a
in.
sudden, I felt like I came to a news channel to debate.
No, discussion.
Yeah, you're watching too much of prime time, huh?
There's nothing else to watch. But anyway, so moving to the last bit of the discussion, there's been conversation about, of course, different postponements, about the women's cricketers participating in the IPL, BBL, but the other aspect, or the another important aspect that I should say, is the debate about a shorter pitch, a lighter ball. To bring parity to men's and women's cricket. Should that be the case? Should that not be the case? Jemimah, you've had some thoughts about this issue. Where do you stand on this debate?
Honestly, we had a innovation thing held by ICC. So at that time, I just said, it's anything that's going to help women's cricket develop, then why not be open to it? So really, I didn't have like my opinion that okay, we should have or we shouldn't have, because I wouldn't be the best expert to give that advice. But I just said, if it's going to develop women's cricket and help women's cricket, then let's be open to it. So that was my basic thing that I really wanted to say.
Can you just amplify on that? How do you feel a lighter ball or a shorter pitch? Is it because there'll be more boundaries, there'll be more power hitting that will help bring the audiences in? Is that how you feel? It'll be helpful.
I think if you want to get the audience in, there are many more ways also that you can get the audience in. Yeah, I think promoting the game even more. Having interactions, and like how they have in the WBBL and all, like the players go to certain schools and certain places where more girls get inspired to take up the sport and pick it up. So if you want to also get women's cricket and get more players in, you can do so many other ways. So yeah, I mean, it just depends on, I mean, you can like debate on this, you can have your opinions, but at the end, I don't want to be someone who says no, this is what it should be. I mean, I just want to like just be open to whatever's being coming and just want the best for women's cricket.
No, I asked this because, when you played in Australia, and when I say you, I mean the entire Indian team and the other teams as well, and the boundaries were not that much brought in. Yes, they were brought in a little bit, but not that much brought in. And because you mentioned earlier that power hitting is such a fundamental element to the women's game today, there were boundaries, Shefali, for example, or you, Smriti, even in West Indies, in England, even in, you've lit up the Kia Super League, in the WBBL. Power hitting is an aspect that's so much part of women's cricket today, and the boundaries don't really matter when it comes to power hitting. So now that the boundaries are, yes, we know that the 30-yard circle is a bit shorter. Sometimes the run-ups are shorter. The ball is a bit lighter as well. But there is a parity that is automatically coming in terms of the play, don't you think? At least in terms of power hitting.
Yeah. I think if you have followed women's cricket, I mean, things have changed so much. Like now people are easily clearing 60 meters. That was 60 yards. So yeah, I mean, things are developing, things are changing. And if you shorten the boundary, I mean, we'll be a little harsh on the bowlers because the bowlers will want a bigger boundary. And if you see the rules also that in men's, there are 5 people allowed after the power play outside. But in women's, there are 4. So already the bowlers have got, certain changes and they need to adjust to that. So I, as a batsman, would love the boundaries to be shorter. I'll be very honest with you. But we'll also want, something fair for the bowlers too. So yeah, it actually depends from place to place. When we played in South Africa, sometimes the boundaries were brought in. Whereas where we played India, the boundaries were like the normal as it was when we were playing in CCI. It was normal as a men's game would have. So it depends on place to place, and at the end, it's the kind of quality cricket you play. The better quality cricket you play, automatically people are going to watch, whether you get the boundaries in or not. So yeah, it has advantages and disadvantages. So yeah.
Deep, not just as an ex-cricketer, but also from a broadcaster point of view, who's done so much of women's cricket, where do you stand on this debate? I mean, it is important whether it's men's cricket or women's cricket, whether you want to get the audiences in or the TRPs in. It's very important to maintain that, as she mentioned, the balance between bat and ball, don't you think?
Absolutely. I think, as a viewer, what I want to see is a good contest. That is all what I want to see. I want to see a good contest between bat and ball. And if you have that, I mean, that's what you need. As far as the changes in rules is concerned, listen, I mean, I honestly feel, as Jemimah mentioned, as long as you see that competition, people will come in and watch. There are other ways to promote women's cricket, and she's absolutely spot on with those things. But one thing that I was, I think, talking to Julian about this, and she mentioned about a smaller ball, right? Because that is a genuine issue that she was talking about, and I would like to hear from Jemimah as well, because generally speaking, again, I'm not being whatever, but if a smaller ball for someone, like most of the bowlers, will be easier to grip, especially the spinners. For example, Poonam, it'll be easier for someone like her, not just her, in general, I'm saying. And would you agree with that, Jemimah?
Yeah, It would be easier to grip. You'd get more rotations on the ball, because if you look at the size of our fingers, it's not that big compared to the boys.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you go to see, it does. But now again, it depends on, like, some people may like it, some people may not like it, some people may be happy with it, some people may not. So at the end, as even you agreed to, it's the competition over there that matters. So
True.
yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really know,
And
like.
sorry, but I mean that's a fair call. I mean, you're still currently playing, and obviously, I mean, you have your opinion, which is fair enough. But Jemimah, like I said, I mean, what I don't want to see is being too patronizing. You know what I'm saying, of the women's cricket, and saying, "Oh, reduce the pitch size, get the boundaries in." Listen, as it is in last 2-3 years, the number of sixes being hit in a T20 game has exponentially gone up. Women have become stronger. The only reason right now, or a year ago, I would say, Australia, New Zealand, and England were ahead. New Zealand is not anymore, but Australia and England maybe are ahead of the other team right now, is because of their fitness levels. And slowly look at her, look at Jemimah and her fitness level. I mean, now Indian women cricketers are also getting there, and I think that difference is only. I mean, we are bridging that difference. So it's just matter of time where women will get stronger, they'll get fitter, and I don't see any reason why you need to change all those things. Yes, as far as the ball is concerned, I honestly agree, because logical thing, but you need to keep in mind, if you need, again, the bowlers to be more competitive, you need a smaller ball where the bowlers can grip the ball better, whether it's a spinner or a fast bowler. You'll get more skill involved with bowling part of the game as well. So those are the things which I think needs to be looked at. The other things, as far as power and all, already they are much more powerful than what the sport had a year ago. They're fitter, they're more powerful. I think this matter of time, they'll only, I mean, you'll see number of sixes going up any which way. So yeah, don't need to reduce anything apart from the bare basic stuff that you need to look at.
Well, interesting conversation there between Jemimah and Deep. Very valid points, and perhaps if I can give my 2 pence, you have competitions like the WBBL or the Kia Super League, or well, if the 100 ever takes off, because you have the women's 100 as well running parallel to men's 100 competition, and of course the women's IPL. These can be experimental grounds maybe for these changes: a lighter ball or a shorter pitch or a lighter bat even, and then whether or not you want to transport that to the international arena and see if that helps the women's game or is a deterrent to the women's game. Quickly moving on, then it will be the last segment of our discussion today, not the debate, as she rightly pointed out. And this is the new segment that we have introduced on HotSpot, and it'll be all Jemimah here, because we have questions from fans, and quite a few questions. First up is Shubhrata Majumdar from Twitter. He asks, and you've mentioned this again and again, but again for him, the element of power hitting in women's cricket, and how individually you have, like you mentioned earlier, that you were relying more on cover drives, and how you brought that element of power hitting, and where do you see it helping you in developing your game?
I think now, since the game has changed so much, as we even discussed on this episode, like, power hitting is a crucial point. I mean, you just cannot rely on, okay, I'm going to stick to this thing because I've always been successful. No, you need to be open to it. And honestly, for me, I have been working on this because naturally I am not that, if you see my physical, I'm not that strong. So I had to literally work on that and develop it. So I rely more on my bat swing, and that helps me. So I have been working on this for quite some time with my dad, and I've seen massive, improvement in my game in regards to the strike rate and everything. So yes, this is a very important thing, I would say now. And, we as batters need to develop that even more and keep doing it, because the more we do it, the more better we're going to get at it.
Listen, I mean, now in the last few years, there are two ways to approach a T20 game, right? Giving an example from men's cricket, one would be power hitting of, let's say, Andre Russell or someone. And An equally effective way of batting in T20 would be Virat's way, where you don't see too many sixes, but it's more smart cricket, picking up the gaps, running hard and all. So how do you, someone like you, as you mentioned, you aren't the, let's say, be honest, not the strongest player out there in terms of physically. How do you approach a T20 innings?
So for me, I basically depend upon my timing, and I'm not more of a power hitter. I'm more of a one who loves to time the ball and look at the gaps. And so that is the kind of game, as you said, like Virat Kohli, maybe in between get those boundaries, but make sure I get those single doubles also with it. And what mindset or what I normally stick to is where the fielders are, because in women's cricket, like 4 fielders are out out of the 23 yards. So I try to pick up those gaps, maybe shuffle a bit or be a bit more innovative, a bit more smart, and try and use my brains like that, where I can pierce those gaps and where I can look for those gaps. Because it's, again, T20, how much I've played and how much I've realized, it's not just about hitting sixes or hitting boundaries. It's also about the single doubles in between. And it's also like smartly picking up your gaps and making sure that that strike rate is maintained. And that's not necessary, as I said, by hitting sixes or boundary. You can even run doubles, like six doubles will give you 12 runs in an over. It's the same like hitting boundaries also. So it's it's like, so for me, it depending on the situation and depending on the role I've been given by the team. If my team wants me to go and attack, I will go and attack from the first ball. But if they want me to play that anchor role, it's more of getting those single doubles, but also making sure I get those odd boundaries in between to help my team. So it's that's the kind of mindset I have.
Right. The next question comes from Aisha Sapra, who's a huge fan of yours, by the way, and she wants to get insights regarding the gender equality or inequality in sports from your experience. Obviously, the rise of the Indian women's cricket team has led to a huge role in narrowing down perhaps this inequality. What has been your experience? How much do you think there's still a long way to go or not? What are some of the challenges that you've faced?
Yeah, honestly, I would say things have gotten much better. As I said, after the 2017 World Cup, women's cricket came in the limelight. We are getting, so many things like same as the men's. So I strongly believe that the better cricket we play as individuals and as a team, the more all these things will follow. See, we don't want to run after all these things. We just want to play the best kind of cricket we possibly can. And I strongly believe that all these things will automatically follow, as it did, from the 2017 World Cup. Nobody really thought that, okay, we are going to do this to get equality or something like that. They just played the best cricket they could and all this just followed. So I strongly believe in that. So yes, there'll be still some gap, but I'm sure, like the kind of cricket we'll play and the better cricket we play, the more we are going to get all this.
Right. Next question comes from Twitter. The Twitter handle is IamAdwin. So not sure the name is given there. So they want to ask you, when you watch your own batting, what comes through your mind when you watch the batting highlights? Are you able to pick up, okay, I can improve there, I could have played a better shot? Or it's like, oh no, that's a great shot I played. What do you think?
Honestly, sometimes even I'm shocked. I'm like, wow, Jemmy, that was such a good shot. I'll be very honest with you. But yeah, definitely there are many things that, I look for, not just, okay, I've hit a boundary, but, there are many things to that. Like sometimes, I'll see, okay, is my technique right? Is, the basics that I normally have, is it right? Because sometimes, in the flow of the match, things keeps changing and you don't realize it. Especially when you're batting well, you won't bother to look at your videos and all. But I strongly believe that, when I also look for these things, not just how many runs I scored, but also like maybe my stance, my back lift, or, something I feel if my head is falling or something, so that I can get better in the next match. So it's not just me admiring my own game, but it's also me kind of getting better and, looking at the areas I can improve.
Right. And we missed out this, and Aisha brought up this question again. She wants to ask about your Kia Super League experience, where you said the field of fire with your performance for Yorkshire. Just about Kia Super League and your desire perhaps to one day play the Women's Big Bash League as well.
Yeah. So Kia Super League was one of the a very good experience for me, I would say. Not because I've scored a lot of runs there, I would say, but because it was a whole different feel and a whole different experience for me. This was the first time I was all alone traveling to the UK. I've never traveled like that alone, and it's the first time I was supposed to play with a whole new team. I've like hardly met them. Maybe I've seen them on the ground, but not spoken or not met them. And I am someone who loves to interact with people, loves having people around me. So, but that was a whole difference, a whole new experience, because they were a bunch of new people, and I wasn't like really known to them. But they were very sweet. They made me feel very comfortable. But it was just that I couldn't gel up that well with them, and I don't know why. I'm someone who actually gels up well with people. But I still remember, like, I used to feel all alone over there, and I used to like even I used to even cry at nights because I used to feel all alone over there. I mean, there were people around me, but it was just that I used to just feel all alone, and it was a very different, because when I'm in the Indian team, I know people, I have friends over here, so I don't feel like that. But over there, it was completely different. But actually, that helped me get stronger as a person, and helped me fight my own battles. Because over here in India, how it is like, the coaches come and tell you, okay, today we are going to do this, this, this. But over there, I had to plan out my own net sessions, or how I am going to go ahead in the match. So that was like a training for me, to plan out everything for me on my own, and go and do it on my own. So it was a really good experience for me, I would say. Not the easiest of experiences. I wanted to come home as soon as possible. But I mean, then I didn't start off really well the first 2-3 games, but then after that like it just picked up. And I remember, like, I was playing against Smriti's team, and Smriti had actually told me this at that time. I'd scored some 28, and I was batting really well. I was in good touch, and she told me, Jemmy, jab acha lag raha hai bat pe, tab you shouldn't get out. Like, try and extend that form as much as you can, because you don't get those days always. Right. So I said, yes, that makes a lot of sense. So after that, things changed. I started getting more consistent, and when I had 100, and it was a really good experience for me.
Right.
But were you cooking and everything yourself there in England?
I was. I mean, I had become an expert in washing the dishes and cutting onions and vegetables, because I can't cook. So my teammates used to help me cook. I mean, we all used to cook as a group, so I should just stick to that part.
And how many cricketers we have heard saying that, going to England, playing there, and learning to wash dishes and cook and everything.
Correct. Do your own laundry.
Jemimah, quickly, my question is that, you are a role model now. Even though you're just 19, but a lot of people follow you. Right? I mean, how do you take it as an individual? You obviously seem to enjoy the whole thing. At any point in time, do you think, I've got these huge responsibility of taking the sport, the team forward, because there's so much of expectation now that you're starting to do so well at the highest level?
I would say it's a motivation for me, honestly. Because when people come up to me and tell me, like, you are an inspiration for, parents coming up and telling you're an inspiration for my daughter to take up the sport. I mean, that doesn't give me, nothing else can give me greater joy than that, I feel. And that's actually a motivation for me to work harder and put in more effort when I practice, or maybe at the gym, because I know, okay, there are younger people, or there are people who are looking up to me. So I need to set the right example. And the only way by doing that is not by my words, but by my actions. So I need to get that right. So it's like that for me. But honestly, I would tell, like, dealing with the expectations has been a journey for me, because it's not been that easy at times to handle that pressure, or the media and people talking about you. But I'm just saying that it's just a journey for me, and I'm slowly getting there and learning each and every time how to handle those expectations and how to play with them. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people also about it, but I think for me, it's just a matter of enjoying these moments, because it won't come back. So this is the only way, I can get better at it. And I mean, to say it's easy, but for someone like me, it's like a process where you are learning each and every time you're playing, you're learning how to do it. So.
Yeah, Jemimah, just quickly, are you an emotional person?
Yeah, I am a very emotional person. Yeah.
So how do you control that? Because it seems like you're emotional, but in a sport or any sport for that matter, one of the very important thing is how you control your emotions, right? You can't be a roller coaster ride. So how do you, at such an early age, handle your emotions?
I think, as I told you, I mean, it's not been the easiest thing for me to do.
Do you have a process to
Uh,
handle those emotions?
not really, not really a process kind of a thing, but it's just, I mean, I honestly don't really know how I do it.
It's kind of your music and all the things that you do is kind of an avenue for you to move away from the sport, because this was something that was told to me by Rahul, is like you have to have hobbies and stuff outside the sport, just to get your mind away from the game, good, bad, ugly, whatever your day has been on the field, you've got to forget it. And and you need some kind of a distraction for your mind. So is everything that you do, a lot of things that you do, kind of taking your mind away from the sport or the game?
Yeah, I do like to have that balance. I mean, I think if you talk about the process, I think that is what I do. Is that I like to keep a balance between cricket and even my life.
Right.
So it is not the whole time cricket, cricket, cricket. I think life is more than just cricket. Yes, cricket is a very important part of my life, but it isn't my life. So I think it's me finding that balance over there. So yes, music and all I really love doing, and yeah, I like to keep that balance and take a break off from cricket, like to maintain that, because then your mind also, it gets like, it goes in that fatigue zone where then you can't give your best every time. I think you need to take a break, you need to switch off, so that next time when you're on the field, you have that emotional energy and you have that right mindset and the right headspace, and that's going to help you perform well. And also, I told you, like, I am also a very spiritual person, so I do pray, I do like read the Bible, and that actually helps me as a person. And I don't know, but reading it gives me strength from within, like to go out there. So yeah, these are like a few things that I do.
Obviously, when the expectations are higher and you've reached such a level, there is also a certain amount of criticism involved when days when you're not doing that well. How do you handle that part of let's say the sport?
Yeah, I think firstly, I do not I switch off my Instagram and Twitter. I think that's the one of the most important things that helped me, because sometimes you read things and you don't realize, but it gets stuck in your head.
Yeah.
And even I've actually spoken to Virat Kohli in New Zealand about this, and he used to say, then what happens is somewhere it's stuck in your head. And then he said one experience that he went on the field to prove to one guy who lives miles away from him, who doesn't even know what he's doing. And
Yeah.
like, I've realized that makes a lot of difference. I am not someone who can read stuff and still go out there and be normal, because I am
Yeah.
kind of emotional. So
Mm.
how much of I can avoid that, I avoid. But there are certain things you need to deal with it, and you need to be strong. Like, some things you cannot avoid. Like, you do get criticism, but I think criticism is something that you can either get bitter about it, or you can get better from it. Like, I strongly believe that. So the choice is up to me how I take that criticism. So it's important for me to take it in a positive way, which will drive me to work harder and go out there and do better. So yeah, that's how it is.
Most interesting bit was there was that you switch off your Twitter and Instagram, and you don't look, because did you manage to, one question from me here, did you manage to find out that you went viral during that clip went viral when you were having that dance off with that security guard? Did you see that?
Honestly, when even during the World Cup, like from the start, even Raman sir had told us, kind of avoid all this stuff, because during the World Cup, everything is so hyped up, people are talking about. So he didn't want us to, get that into our heads. So I had done that. So whatever post, even I was doing a post, whether it's on Twitter or something, I would just send it to my manager, and they would post it from my account. So that's how I was doing. And after the game, I don't remember which game it was, whether it was New Zealand or some game. One ICC, the media manager for ICC, he came up to me and told me that, your video has gone viral. I'm like, which video? I didn't post any video. Like, no, the dance with the security. I'm like, how did that come out? I didn't even know. He's like, no, it's got like more than 2 million views and all this. I'm like, okay. I didn't know. So then my brother, he had sent me a screenshot and all. But again, I wasn't again on Instagram and Twitter at that time.
That actually defines really how chirpy and fun as a person you are, and which is always good to have that other side. It brings us to a very chirpy and fun end to this long discussion on all things women's cricket. And I think both Deep and I and our viewers and listeners have got a better perspective, not just on women's cricket, but also how Jemimah Rodrigues, a prominent women cricketer, goes about her game. Our thanks to Jemimah for joining us here and giving us these insights. Thank you so much for joining us here on HotSpot.
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, it was a great
Yeah,
time
Jemimah,
talking to both of you.
Jemimah, absolute pleasure talking to you. And just one thing, don't change, man. I mean, you are absolutely brilliant, a perfect role model. Just to be the way you are. You're fabulous.
Thank you so much. I mean, this means a lot to me. So yeah, thank you.
It was so much fun, and we hope you had fun as well. Thanks also to Dasgupta for keeping his company ever present here. We'll be back soon with another relevant topic on HotSpot with another episode. In the meantime, do share your feedback on social media, leave your comments, and share this episode on social media as we will. The podcast is available on all good avenues: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and of course on YouTube as well. Until next time, it's goodbye. Stay safe.
Dhoni finishes off in style. A magnificent strike into the crowd. India lift the World Cup after 28 years.